I sucked at controlling my fingers when I first started playing piano. My thumb constantly accented notes, I couldn't play in time, and I couldn't control how loud each note was. So in this video, we're going to talk about two things. One, what are the three qualities of a note that you control with your fingers? And two, what I did to learn how to control them. By the way, hi, I'm Kevin, and I learned how to play piano by reading how Chopin, one of the greatest pianist-composers of all time, played and taught. So first, what are the three qualities of a note? The first is the time that a note is played in a piece, or in short, time or timing. Most music has a pulse or a beat, dictated by its tempo. The tempo determines the time between the beats and is measured in beats per minute, which is how many beats are played in under 1 minute. Now, in order to play in time, the notes you play need to line up with the beat exactly, or the subdivisions of the beat, depending on the rhythm in the music. This sounds obvious, but I bring it up because it's common to rush or slow down if we don't consciously focus on keeping the time even. There's also something called tempo rubato, which translates to stolen time, where you intentionally take time for one section of a music and use it in another. But that topic is outside the scope of this video. But let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video about it. Now the second quality is the loudness of the note, or how loud or how soft a note is played. This is called dynamics. Dynamics range from pianissimo, which is incredibly soft playing, and in some cases is just enough effort to bring the hammer of a key to brush against the strings. And on the other end is fortissimo, which is incredibly loud playing, and in some cases uses most of the weight of the arm to play a key. Then there's everything in between: piano or soft, mezzo piano, a little soft, mezzo forte, a little loud, and forte, loud. And the third and final quality is how long a note is held relative to the duration of the note. This is called articulation. The articulation of a note resides on a spectrum. On the short side is staccato, where a note is played like the dot on an I, or like plucking a guitar string. It's as short as possible while still sounding the note. And on the long side is legato, where it's held for the entire duration of the note and usually connects to another note. So, when you can control and vary these three qualities of any note at will, we can say you've mastered finger control. To quote Chopin, the goal is not to learn to play everything with an equal sound, but rather, it seems to me, a well-formed technique that can control and vary a beautiful sound quality. What he's saying is we shouldn't practice to even the strength of our fingers, or even to practice to play evenly, but rather to practice to be able to control every quality of a note in order to play beautifully. Now that we know what to control, how do we practice it? First, let's focus on timing. To practice this, we'll play a scale for 1 octave. We'll start with 1 note per beat. Set a metronome to a slowish tempo where you can comfortably play 4 notes per beat, maybe around 70 to 80 beats per minute, as that's what we'll end on. If you need to go slower, that's okay too. Then we'll practice the scale 1 note per beat, and we'll count every beat. Counting is absolutely crucial, as it makes it easier to feel the pulse. If you don't count, you'll lose precision on timing, which is exactly the quality we're trying to improve. So, let's start. The first one is slow and boring, but it's the important starting block. Also, we're playing staccato, so we can solely focus on the start of the notes and not anything else. The goal is to align the start of the note with the tick of the metronome. As you play, listen closely. Does the start of the note align with the beat? If it doesn't align, count, adjust, play, and then listen again. Consider the exercise completed when every note lines up with the metronome for 4 scales in a row. Once you've completed the exercise, you can move on to the next one, which is 2 notes per beat. Then 3 notes per beat, don't forget to count. Then 4 notes per beat. Once you can do this last exercise, you can increase the tempo by 3 to 4 beats per minute. But if your max tempo is a lot faster, you can increase by 5 to 10 beats per minute. Try it out and see how well you adjust. We want it to be easy, but still challenging. Otherwise, we'll quit because it's too hard or stop because we're not making progress. Next, we'll work on the loudness of the notes, or dynamics. Dynamics is, funny enough, the easiest of all the exercises. Just practice the scale and slightly accent the first note in either groups of 3 or groups of 4. When you play in groups of 3, play 3 octaves. This way, every note has a chance to be accented. And for groups of 4, play 4 octaves for the same reason. I'll demonstrate. The goal is to only accent the notes that need to be accented and not the ones that don't. This way you'll learn how to play softly and loudly with every finger, especially the thumb, and have more control on the dynamics. Now, as a bonus, you can try playing 3 against 4 or vice versa. This means one hand accents in groups of 3 and the other hand accents in groups of 4. I personally haven't practiced it, but it was mentioned by one of Chopin's students, so I thought I'd include it here. But now we'll move on to the duration that the notes are held, or articulation. This one's a little different. To practice this, we'll take a note out of Chopin's teachings and use his 5-finger exercise. Place your right hand on the piano such that the 3 long fingers rest on the black keys and the 2 short fingers rest on the white keys. Your thumb will occupy the E key and your pinky will occupy the B key. And when you practice with your left hand, your thumb will be on C and your pinky on F. We'll do this practice one hand at a time so we can give each hand the entirety of our focus. Place the long fingers such that they're aligned horizontally and place the short fingers such that they are also roughly aligned horizontally. This allows for equal leverage amongst the fingers and makes it easier to play evenly. Side note, curl the thumb and use the corner of the nail to play. Anyways, the first exercise is simple. We'll just play every key staccato. When playing staccato, imagine the dot on an I, plucking a harp or a guitar, or a violin pizzicato. Again, once you can do it 4 times in a row without mistakes, move on. Now the next exercise is a little tricky. We're going to hold every note for around half of its duration. You'll need to subdivide every note into 2. So count 1, 2, 1 E, or whatever works for you. Count every beat and release the key on the second beat. If you don't hold it for exactly half, that's okay. The next exercise is also tricky. We're going to hold the note for as long as possible without it becoming legato. To help with this, imagine playing the space between the notes like they're staccato notes. So release the note as if the space right before the next note is staccato. Then lastly, we'll practice legato. In legato playing, the notes need to be connected. They need to cling to each other. To achieve this, the previous finger must lift while the next finger plays. If you lift too early, the notes don't connect. If you lift too late, it sounds muddy and unclear. The goal for these exercises is to be able to play a given articulation consistently. Now, for the exercise that puts everything together. First, pick which articulation you'll use, staccato, heavy staccato, legato, or legato. Then, pick a dynamic, piano, forte, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, etc. Then pick a tempo between 50 BPM and 200 BPM. I forgot to record this, but lastly is to randomize the exercise. The goal is to be able to play any combination at will. I'll demonstrate here. If you can play any combination of the 3 qualities at any point, you'll truly have mastered finger control. To master piano technique, you'll only need to apply these to scales, arpeggios, and double notes. As according to Chopin, all of piano technique can be boiled down into these 3 categories. Now, if you want to learn what I did to learn how to play scales fast, I recommend you check out this video here. Thanks for watching.